Hey, Grias, welcome back. I'm your host, Alexis, and this is Lex Gria's podcast. And today we are going to talk about Phoenix Colden, a young black woman who was a junior in college who disappeared 12 years ago, where till this day, her parents are actively seeking for support and more information about her disappearance, and are still having that strong hope that she will return. And I'm here to tell you about her as well as details of what happened leading to her disappearance and the situation that the family has been through, as well as a big mislead and more. So, as we know, missing black women cases go under the radar and doesn't get the same media attention from the law enforcement versus others. And because of that, it leads to heartache and frustration for those families who stand up to seek for justice for their loved ones so that they can be remembered, never forgotten, as well as to have hope that their loved ones is still out there and that someday they will return. But without the help, it makes it more challenging for them, which leads them, in most cases, the family to end up funding their own money as well as getting the support of others to get help from outside, since the main two sources failed them and it's a repeated cycle. And I feel like every missing person case should be treated equally no matter what and get the same amount of attention no matter of who they are. At the end, there's still a family that has a family member who is missing and wants them found and wants accurate updates. And this was a person who has loved ones who care for them and wants them to be found. And unfortunately, for her case, it was treated the same as not being taken serious at the time, and it should have been, and not a lot of media coverage until a series like Oxygen. The disappearance of Phoenix Colden helped bring this exposure they needed back then. So, who was Phoenix? Phoenix, born in California on May 23, 1988, as Reeves, she was raised there until her parents moved to Missouri for her father's new job. Later down the road, her mother remarried to Lawrence Colden, and that's where Phoenix was adopted and her name was changed to Phoenix Colden. During her upbringing, she was raised by a strict and religious household and was mostly homeschooled by her mom, Gloria. Until high school, her loved ones described her as intelligent, responsible, very religious young woman. She played multiple musical instruments and was also a regional fence champion. And her name, described by her mom, means beautiful and unique. After she turned 18, she moved out and told her family members that she was moving in with a female friend, where the family later discovered she was actually living with her boyfriend until 2011, where she moved back in with her parents. At the time of her disappearance, she was a junior in the University of Missouri. Investigator reporter Sandra Thomas later claimed a couple months before the disappearance of Phoenix, she was speaking to multiple men and even had a second phone that her secret boyfriend gave her, who worked at a phone company. On December 18, 2011, Colden, now 23, visited her parents in Spanish Lake at 3 p.m., where she was leaving the driveway in her mom's black 1998 Chevy Blazer without telling her parents where she was going, and she was on the phone with someone, where they presumed that she was just going to the store or maybe even a friend. But they also described how she would never leave the house without telling them where she was going. And when hours became early morning the next day and there was still no sign of her return, they knew something was wrong. She was last seen wearing a gray sweatshirt with UMSL or Lindenwood prints pairs, with a dark hoodie and tennis shoes. That's when, on December 19, where the Coldens, who lived north, went to the police department to report their daughter was missing to the state Lewis County Police, where they ran the mom's car where she was last driving. But when the police ran her license plates, there was no trace of it being towed or no accidents. After no leads, The family and friends and hospitals were distributing flyers. 5 days after they reported her missing, the major case forces was brought in. That to me was a big delay in the process of finding her in the car because it was past the 48 hours mark. And if it was, in my opinion, I would say they should have had a better system of communication within each other to be on the lookout within a 200 miles radius during that less than 48 hours to give some assistance to their families. If they don't want to go through the media, because I know that's the main reason, because if they are found, obviously, then that's why they don't want to do that. But versus waiting and having no leads starts off with having you to look for more clues and it takes longer. So on January 1st, Phoenix car was found at an impound lot after the Colden's friends came across it and called them, and it was in East St. Louis. It had been there since December 18, according to the Coldens. The car was found approximately 6 p.m., 3 hours after her parents saw her leave the drive through. The car was open, the keys were in the ignition, and the engine was still running. The car was towed to the lot where it was set for 2 weeks. And the reason the car wasn't discovered on the database was because nobody from East St. Louis put it in the database. And the question we asked, why? Because I feel like if there's some communication on how the car was found, wouldn't that leave red flags in their heads to look it up for to find whose car it was and be able to alert the other police department so they could have gave them some answer? And mind you, this was around the same time they were looking for her and filing a missing persons report. And her mom, Gloria, asked the same question that I'm asking. Why did they not look up the car and say, hey, is this your car? And the reason was that there was no personal belonging in the car at the time that her car was found. And that's why they didn't put it in their inventory sheet to have it on the database for anyone to look up for a vehicle. And she stated that was a lie because all her belongings, like her glasses, driver license, and her purse and her shoes, were there at the time the car was discovered by the family. And the location of the car was 25 miles away from where her parents' house was. Plus, it was in another state. And mind you, Gloria had to contact the mayor to pay a 1,000 impound bill waived. Despite the St. Louis did a couple of searches weeks following the discovery, but then it went silent. They didn't hear anything back until February 2012. So once both law enforcement and media did not give them the time or even effort to help them find their daughter, both of them did search parties within the area where the car was discovered. And when they were there, there was an abandoned building as well as empty parking lots, like a lot of them. And this location at St. Clair Avenue, East St. Louis, Illinois, and Ninth Street, falling with the help with and missing foundation and hiring Steve Foster, a private investigator. So this is around the time where the family was essentially getting their own assistance after law enforcement and media did not give them the time of day. So while they're doing like their searches and checking every whereabout, they finally are able to get a private investigator as well as get some assistance from this foundation. So a couple of years of both families finding any possible leads of where she could be. So while the detective is doing its thing and doing some digging, he discovers that Phoenix had two birth certificates, one in her mother's maiden name and one in her adopted name. And there was a video Colden that was recorded before she disappeared where she speaks of wanting to start over, but she can't start the new me over, she states. And she also recites the prayer in the Bible and asks for God for help to accept the things that won't change. Before stating, I can't remember the last time I was happy. And this is where the speculations of her wanting to run away from her family because of this and how strict they were. But that wasn't the case. And based off of what she said in the video, that's where the speculations came on. But of course, the family stated in the doc series that that wasn't the case. And during the time, she apparently enrolled for the fall semester, but they found out that she never enrolled in the fall semester. And this is where the Oxygen series has an article that they were checking out some things involving the birth certificates. So they came across finding a woman named Phoenix Reeves, which was her birth name at the time, not her adopted name, who lived in Alaska. But when they arrived, they realized it wasn't her. And that there was different birth certificates came to play. And how it would lead to these leads of finding either the people that they had last names of Phoenix Colden or Phoenix Reeves in the database. As for the secret boyfriend, he is still not clear all the way, but he has lured up since her disappearance. In 2014, one of Colden's friend, Kelly, said that she saw Phoenix boarding on a flight and the girl reacted to her calling her name. And she said that she was with four other girls and two men who looked like pro football players with her. And she said that she didn't engage with Kelly. The first lead may have been more promising than this lead. The second lead they got in brought tears to her mom and her father. When they went to Texas, where a man claimed to know where Colden was, and the family spent most of their money and had fallen with the investigator to follow the tip and found out that he made it up. And this was a really big mislead and cruel one. So just let them back to square one. And this is where the investigator left with the conclusion of what happened. So he stated she was either abducted by a sex trafficker or ran away on purpose or died involving foul play, or even the most chilling statement made from an ex-girlfriend of Colden's secret boyfriends stated, "Do you know where she's at?" And he replied, "Why are you worried about someone that's dead?" And I think when law enforcement got this tip, I think they said that he was joking. But then I was like, why are you joking about something like that? You know this girl's missing, and then you make a joke like that. It doesn't seem like you wouldn't be joking, especially that you were her secret boyfriend and there was multiple men that she was talking to, because we don't know at the time if she was talking to people within that area. And like they said, the secret boyfriend is not clear at all, so it just sounds more suspicious. But we are at the end of this episode, and I hope you enjoy listening to this case as well as gather up some information of what you might think may have happened to her and any type of theories or any conclusions. And anyone out there that wants to help or has more information, I would highly suggest contact State Lewis County Police as well as the St. Louis Regional Crime Stopper or the National Human Trafficking Hotline. And thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more cases coming next week. And Lex Gria is clocking out.